Today I'm going to take you around and show you where I rent these bikes and give you an idea how much it's going to cost you if you come to Pattaya to rent the bikes, the scooters, motorcycles, some bigger CC things. The price is very comparable to what you're going to pay in Phuket. I spent time in both places and they're cheap. Mr. Dean here. He's got everything you're going to want. Right now the tourists are coming back, so it's pretty busy. But he still has a big selection, and if you want the big CC bikes, things you're not going to find at a lot of the other rental places. The 155 Aerox, how much does this rent for? 300 baht for one day.
Yeah, mini day discount.
Right, so 300 baht for one day, and then for 1 month, how much? That's 5,000 baht for 1 month. The Aerox, the Yamaha, is a great one to rent, one of my favorite. It's really nice for around town. It has great power. It's kind of cramped though. I'm 5'11", 185 pounds. And it's a pretty tight fit, but it gets the job done. The most popular one I've seen in Thailand, especially down in Phuket, is the Honda 125i. I've rented one of these many times. You can get these for 100 baht per day if you rent it for the full month. How much for the 125 per day? 200 baht. Right, yeah, about 100 baht a day. So I found, as far as price and value, the Honda 125i, you can't beat that. So if you're super cheap, you're just trying to get around town, especially down in Phuket, which is a smaller area, that 125 gets the job done. But if you're bigger than me, I'm just an average sized person. So if you're taller than 5'11", and you're way more than 200 pounds, the Aerox and this Honda 125i are a bit small. It's also a 125, yeah. As you can see, 125s everywhere. Cheap. All right, and then how much for a small motorcycle like this? So 500 baht per day, unless you go for a full month, and then it's 300 baht. And of course, I like to rent for a month at a time. How many cc is this? 150 cc. And then how much for the naked bike? 1,000 baht per day. And how many cc? 650
yeah.
cc. How much for a month for this?
1 month, 15,000 up.
15,000. Oh, if you're putting more miles on it, then it's a higher price.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, I see. We're up to a 750. How much for a 750 naked bike?
But same price.
Same price. Okay. So newer model, smaller CC.
Yeah, but
and this is older with bigger
but more
CC.
model.
So kind of,
Price
I gotcha. So okay, we're up to a 900. This is more the CC that I'm used to in the U.S. And how much for this?
about same.
It's about the same. Okay. So if you're into big bikes, my personal opinion, I would jump up to the 900, you know. The reason why I stick with scooters and I don't ride motorcycles in Thailand, because it's really hot here. And I don't like wearing pants. And on these motorbikes, there's a lot of heat coming here and you don't want to touch this at all with your skin. But so for me, it's a heat thing. That's really what it comes down to. I will say on the bigger CC scooters though, they're so wide, you don't get much airflow around your crotch and you kind of get swamp butt. The smaller CC scooters, no problem. Motorcycles though, you get more air flow through here. Yeah, one of my favorite things to rent in Thailand are dirt bikes. These dual sport bikes. And I actually had a 250X in the US dirt bike, so it's set up a little taller. Same engine, gearing's probably a bit different. But the roads are so bad in Thailand, this is awesome. It's so smooth and comfortable to ride. And riding a dirt bike on the road is always fun. So to rent the Honda 250L, it's going to be 500 baht per day. To rent it for the month, it's 300 baht per day. Also, one thing you should know when you go to rent, some of the places will want your passport. I never do that, and it's not because I don't trust them. I just don't know where they're putting it or how they're keeping my passport safe. And I don't want to disappear because I don't want to deal with that trouble. So you usually have a choice, passport or deposit, 2,000 to 6,000 depending on CC, you know, how nice the bike is or scooter. And if they only are going to take a passport and not do the deposit, I just don't rent from them. And I'll find places that take good care of their equipment. And this is why I keep coming back here, because I know they keep up on the oil changes, the tires are good, brakes are good, chains are lubed, no rusty parts. And if you're experienced riding motorcycles, this stuff's easy to pick up on. But if you don't ride much, just pay attention to the tire wear. Make sure there's no cracks in the tires, chains are lubed. Brakes look good, no oil leaks. Okay, Mr. Dean, how much for the Versys? The Kawasaki? 800 baht per day. Yeah, and for a month if you took it. 15,000 for the month. Okay. Oh, okay, so some people rent this and go all the way to Phuket with it, or go to Chiang Mai. Oh yeah, so if I rent it for a month and I say, okay, I'm gonna go up to Chiang Mai, I'll be up there for a few weeks and then I'll be back, and I have it for 1 month, how much would that cost me for 1 month? Oh, okay, okay. So you're saying, since I've rented for so many months from you, you give me a pretty good price. It'd be a little bit less than 30,000. And if it's a brand new person you never see before, it's gonna be 30,000, maybe more. What's nice about the motorcycles, the biggest thing is the suspension. And what a difference. When you get on these, the ride's so much better. But it's a trade-off. You know, you have the convenience of a small size, easy to park, wear your shorts on the scooters, but you have the comfort, better handling, better suspension on the motorbikes. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to rent a Versys or one of these adventure bikes and cruise down to Phuket or cruise up to Chiang Mai. And the car to Phuket is 10 hours. So it's a 10 hour, so obviously on a motorbike you want to break it up. So it's been my experience, you can ride like a maniac and nobody seems to care. The police don't seem to really care if you follow the rules or not, or go down the road the wrong direction. The only thing they seem to really care about is if you're wearing a helmet, if you're a foreigner, and the mask. So make sure you have your mask. So it's super hot here. So what I do, right here, put the helmet on and they'll leave you alone. It's not on your face, but it's the thought that counts. I've been pulled over because I wasn't wearing it in Pattaya. Phuket never had a problem, but in Pattaya, I didn't have it on. The ADV 150, I brought that back and I see it rented quickly. You don't have it here. How much does that rent for per day? 500 baht per day.
5 or 400 baht.
Okay.
I see people convert 5 or 400 baht.
Right, and then I rented it for a month and I was paying 200 baht per day.
If people take care about what I did, I talk about you.
Yeah, so the Honda ADV 150, of course I made a video on it. It's overall my favorite one to use. It's just so practical and there's not many of them. And I found another one just up the road because it's kind of hidden by somebody, but they usually go pretty quick. So, and then the next one I really enjoyed was the ADV 750, that scooter. And how much does that rent for? About 1,000 per day, and if you rent it for a month, it's 25,000 for the whole month for the ADV 750. And what I recommend, if you're gonna be here for extended stay, rent multiple motorbikes, figure out what you like. Because I mean, I know what I like, I'm sharing my opinion. And you may, I don't know, jump on one of these big leader bikes and think it's awesome. I think it's too hot. I think traffic's too slow for these. If I get a big bike, I'm gonna get something comfortable, great suspension, the dirt bike. Long trip, I'm gonna get the adventure bike. One thing I didn't know about when I first started traveling international, my first trip to Southeast Asia, was you should have an international driver's license. And so I would rent things with no license. I never had any problems, but I have been pulled over in Pattaya at checkpoints. No issues, I don't have to pay any money, but they want to see my license. So I always carry my international license along with my US license at all times. And the international license, if you don't have one, they're super easy to get. You apply online, it's really no big deal. It's really cheap.
How much for the price?
I can't remember how much it cost me, but I know it was cheap because if it was expensive, I would have remembered. If you do get pulled over, you don't have a license, you get charged 500 baht. That's pretty cheap. $15. Yeah, especially in the tourist areas. I noticed in Pattaya, a lot of police out right now. And it wasn't like this when I first got here 6 months ago. Phuket wasn't like this, but probably because of COVID. But they're out in force now. And they have checkpoints. They won't chase you down like in the States. They just have checkpoints where like 10 cops on the side of the road stand out in front of the road and grab you. When you rent motorbikes, every rental place has helmets, of course, that come with the bike you can rent. Mr. Dean actually has much better helmets that come with the bikes than I've seen so far every place I've been. But if you're gonna be here for a while, just spend the money and buy a helmet that fits your head and has a face shield. I got this helmet for $25, and when I leave here, I'll just donate to Dean here or give to somebody else. Whatever city I show up in, I just buy a new helmet. They're cheap. It makes the ride much more enjoyable having a helmet that fits your head. Cheap price to pay for comfort and safety. And a face shield's a must. I rode many times in Vietnam and Thailand with no face shield. Yeah, it kind of sucks. There's multiple places to rent motorbikes. And as you get further away from the beach, they're gonna be cheaper. The rental places are much smaller. Maybe they only have 5, no more than 10. They're gonna be cheaper. The maintenance, a lot of these other ones, is not very good, but sometimes you can really find a bargain. You will find one that's well maintained, that's cheap.